What's up, everyone? It's a knife out here, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a discussion video about the ergonomics of a knife. And more specifically, I'm going to be talking about how excess jimping on a knife can really ruin the ergonomics of it. And the example I'm going to be using is the Benchmade Griptilian that I have here. This is the one with the coated sheepshead blade in S30V, and it has these plastic, or they call them grivery handles. But yeah, so if you guys just look at this, the ergonomic lines of this are really nice. Like one of the main things I look for in a knife is simple ergonomic lines, and that is because when it is something like this Boker Kalashnikov, this is limiting your hand to one position. This position right here, you can pretty much do a hammer grip, a saber grip, and that's about it because it is just straight up 4 finger grooves. And also, my hands aren't usually the same size as a lot of other people out there, and so a lot of times when it's ergonomics designed for a specific hand, my hands don't fit it as well. But basically, these ergonomic lines in this Griptilian are some of the best I've ever seen. There are no real finger grooves at all, and it's just very smooth and curved. This is contoured, the scale is contoured, and it is a very thick scale. Let me get out my calipers. I'll measure this at the thickest point, or actually I'll just measure the back of it because this pocket clip I'll measure it like right there. So it's like 0.6. And a lot of times you see handle scale thickness at about a 1/2 inch, but that is like 1/10 of an inch over a 1/2 inch, 0.6. I don't know why I'm explaining that. But anyway, so super thick handles, and they're contoured, and there's a little bit of chamfering, and that just really makes ergonomics great. That's what I really like. If you guys haven't noticed, a really thin-handled knife, something like this Kershaw Leak, I mean, the ergos on this are fine, but since it's so thin, it feels kind of toothpicky, I guess you could say. Basically, I'm not the biggest fan where my fingers can touch, like my fingers can touch my palm when I'm doing a hammer grip like that. It's not the end of the world at all, but I just prefer for the handles to be thicker, and a lot of times it feels your hand better and it feels more comfortable with a lot of use. That's why you see on a lot of fixed blades, it's got a palm swell or just a very thick handle, because with excess use, a thicker handle will be much more comfortable for your hand. And so the only complaint I have about these ergonomic lines is this is not a straight back. You guys have probably heard me say this multiple times, but this is an example of a knife with a straight back. And what that does is when you are doing hard to use tasks and you are putting pressure down on the blade, your hand is making full surface contact with the back of this knife, and so any pressure that goes from the cutting task to your hand will go to all of your hand. It won't go to a specific spot. This is a really good example of bad when it has ergonomic lines like this. All the force of your hand is going to go here. It might dig up, and this jimping will get you. It's just when it's a completely straight back, it transfers all the pressure of your cut to your whole flat of your hand right here, and that makes cutting a lot easier for harder use situations. I hope that made sense. I don't know if it really did. But anyway, the topic of this video is how jimping can ruin ergonomics. And so the ergonomics of this knife look really good so far, but I'm just going to count these spots of jimping that there are in this knife. First, this just patch of jimping here on the show side scale, and then there's the same patch on the clip side, and so that's 2. And then there's jimping from the axis lock, the steel from the axis lock, that's 3, and then jimping around it on the plastic, that's 4. Jimping right here for your pinky when you're holding it like this, that is 5. Jimping on the back, I guess, for your thumb and a reverse grip, I don't know, that's 6. Jimping around on the axis lock right here, that's 7. Jimping on the plastic around, that's 8. And then jimping on the spine of the knife, that is 9. The only spot where I see jimping needed on this knife, or not even needed, there could be 0 jimping on this knife and it still be really good, is jimping on the spine. That's really the best jimping that there is. And I don't think that jimping on the spine is needed really at all. A lot of people do like jimping because they like to know where their thumb is suggested to go, but I mean, what's going to happen if your thumb slips off? I mean, unless you have absurdly long thumb or an absurdly long thumb and it slips off and then you somehow cut it or something. Yeah, I don't really think that jimping is needed on the spine of a knife. But anyway, you guys saw there were so many different spots with jimping, and the 2 worst spots are by far the inside right here and the inside right there. I don't know if this will show up, but this is not knocked down very good, and it could just be knocked down a lot better, and it's just horrible when this jimping is here too. And like, especially on this pinky, that is a straight up hot spot on my pinky. Let me pull out the knife I'm carrying, the Para 3 Lightweight. If you guys saw my Para 3 Lightweight 1 year later video, you guys would have seen that the inside of this handle is not very knocked down. And then when I modded it, I sanded that down with a ceramic stone, and it just made the ergonomics like this a lot better. Originally, this whole area right here was a hot spot. Like, there would be a hot spot like entirely across my fingers there because that was not knocked down. But now that it's knocked down, it's not a problem like that. But I could knock that down and probably make it a little better, but there's still that jimping there, and it's just not very useful. I get it, it's the Griptilian, they want to add grip, but this knife would be amazing if there was no jimping at all. I could really see the outreach or inspiration for aftermarket scales for this knife. Now, I don't carry this knife as much as I used to, and so I don't think that I'm going to get those aftermarket scales, but imagine just some nice micarta scales with no jimping on it at all. They'd just be jimping on the spine and some of this jimping from the axis lock, which that isn't really that bad at all. And then, so there's that jimping on the axis lock, and that's kind of the same thing that Spyderco does, that little jimping on the inside right here. It's not bad, but I think that if Spyderco knocked down this jimping a little bit up here, the ergonomics would be much better, especially in hard use, because that jimping it's very fine, but it's not knocked down very well, and it will catch your fingernail in there. And an example of Spyderco doing that in the past and it actually working fine is the Millie. Like, look, this jimping here is knocked down much better, and it's not as high up the blade. And the blade is not just some huge ramp like it is. Let me pull up the Para 3 right out of my pocket again. I should really just keep that up here. The Para 3 jimping, I feel like it's limiting my thumb into this locked position where I can't really move it freely. I feel like a big reason I feel like when holding the Para 3, my thumb would comfortably want to go there, but it doesn't make any sense because it ramps up. This is not really that big of a there's no hot spots whatsoever, but I'm just saying it would be comfortable to do like that, and you can go like that, but obviously, I don't know, if I'm cutting straight down the cardboard's gonna catch all over my thumb. But I'm talking about the Griptilian, and I just went completely off track there. But basically what I'm saying is a lot of companies think that ergonomics are solved by adding more grip. And I really truthfully feel that if there was no jimping on here, I think that my hand would still be locked in very nicely. I mean, let me guys show you an example. So an ergonomic test that is not scientific whatsoever is basically just to squeeze the knife as hard as you can for like 10 seconds. So let me do that with this knife, and I'll just show you guys what my hands look like. So I'll just switch from a hammer grip and saber grip kind of in between. So hammer grip, saber grip, hammer grip, saber grip, just like 5 more seconds with this, and then gripping as hard as I can. All right, now look at my hand. See that? It looks like golf balls on my finger. Look at those hot spots, all those markings on the inside of my hand. It is just terrible. And that little spot for my pinky, yeah, that spot for my pinky right there, that divot, that's not focusing, whatever. That is sitting right on this sharp jimping right there. And I truthfully believe that there would be no hot spots on the Griptilian if there was no jimping. And the Hoe Gritter, I'll do it with this one. You might not be able to pick it up, but this one does feel much better because that Griptilian, doing that and my hand was actually hurting my hand pretty bad. But gripping this one hard, my only real thing that I feel a little bit of some pressure on the very end of my pinky. So we'll see what that looks like in 3, 2, 1. All right. So yeah, there was the pressure on the end of my pinky. As you guys can see, that showed up. There's an outline of the pocket clip, but other than that, it's not bad. You know, these are just calluses on my hand, and so that is not really a hot spot. But a knife that reminded me a lot of the Griptilian, and it has zero jimping, is look at these ergonomic lines compared. CGRB Feldspar, this is the Mini and the Griptilian. Now, the regular Feldspar probably would be an even better example, but I'll do this with the Mini Feldspar. And really, this is an example of a kind of a toothpicky knife, as you guys can see there. And it's not the end of the world to me, like I said, but I expect that the only real hot spot or things that you can see is from that pocket clip. So let's take a look. Yes, you can see the outline of that pocket clip, but no real issues with in the hand with that one. And so I have kind of gone on and on about this video, but basically I'm going to wrap it up here. I think that companies like Benchmade doesn't do it all that much, and they've gotten better at it, because the Griptilian's been like a really just age-old model. And basically, knife companies should stop adding grip and texture because they think it is better for ergonomics when it really doesn't have to be. Knife companies that come to mind, well, this Griptilian right here, cold steel, Spyderco doesn't need to use that sharp jimping on there. Even Hinders, I do really like Hinders, or I've never really handled one. I do like how they look, and I bet I really like them in real life, but they do have jimping, kind of like this Hogue Ritter. They do have jimping right here and right here, I believe, or yeah, I think so. And I don't think that that jimping is needed at all. I mean, I guess these companies, like this jimping right here, is that for a reverse grip? I don't know. I mean, it does kind of help, I guess, in a reverse grip, but I don't really know how, really what the point of that is. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I think that knife companies should just maybe try it out. Try and make a knife with like no jimping at all, like smooth G10, maybe smooth carbon fiber or something like that. No extra traction, and just see how locked in your hand is. A lot of people have said, really comparing the PM2 to the Spyderco Capara. I never handled the Capara, but there is no jimping on that knife at all. And a lot of people have said that it is very locked in their hand. They feel like that there is no chance it is gonna fall or fly out of their hand, and there is no jimping up here like there is on the PM2. And so even though that this jimping probably does help a little bit stay in your hand, and you might think you're more secure, it does dig into your finger pretty badly. And so yeah, that's gonna do it for the video. Oh, one note, jimping, just G10 grip in general. This Hogue Ritter does it a little bit, how there is this kind of, I don't know how to explain this G10 pattern, but it's vertical up here, and then there's some horizontal lines, and that just creates a little circle of extra grippiness. And I think that this knife could be completely smooth G10, and it'd still be really comfortable. Now this G10 is much smoother than things like Spyderco's G10, or I'd assume Cold Steel's G10 or something like that, But anyway, here's an example. SOG. Yeah, this knife's disgusting. That was kind of rude to this knife. I guess a lot of people like it, but this is one of my first knives, really my first knife that I ever started carrying, and I hate it with a burning passion. No, but the reason that the ergonomics are bad for this one, this SOG logo is very deeply engraved, I guess, or just milled out. I don't know. But a big reason why I like simple ergonomic lines is, look at this. This is suggesting that you put your pointer finger here, middle finger here, and 2 fingers here. I mean, I really hope that it doesn't think you should put all 3 fingers there, because that means your middle finger would be resting on this middle part. But anyway, I feel like SOG thought that they were appealing to an audience of like 7-foot tall men with huge hands. I don't know. But basically what this does is, if I want to grip it how they want me to, look at that. That is terrible. And this little extra protruding part is just bad. So anyway, I've rambled on. My final conclusions: I think that knife companies should, I know that I have really no power to tell people what they do because it's their business, they do what they want, but I would like to see knife companies move more away from the excess jimping and excess grip, and just try out seeing how a knife goes with no jimping, and seeing if it is still locked in your hand just as it was before. So that's going to do it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. I just checked. I don't know when this video is going to go up, but we are at 490 subs. So I can tell a lot of people like this modding video, this knife. I really enjoyed doing it and enjoyed the final result, but I gained a lot more subs from that. And so thank you guys for watching. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.